The topic I chose was on empathy. The empathy is either learned or inherited, nature versus nurture. In the studies I read over, there was an article written by Dr. Sosler, which is, she based it on pro-social behavior, which is voluntary behavior intended to benefit another. They did twin studies, which there is some genetic component of having empathy. Carolyn Zane Wexler was a senior research scientist on this twin studies, and she showed that identical twins behaved when an adult was stressed more than fraternal twins would. So she's saying that there's no gene for empathy, but it's inheritable, might be personality characteristics that the twins have. And identical twins would have more of those characteristics than fraternal twins. Another theory is based on social cognition, and that's the recognition that people have needs and goals. For instance, in the United States, people donate blood, and they usually get paid or rewarded in some manner. In Britain, there is no reward, but they donate more blood than us here in the United States because they recognize there's more of a need for that blood. They're playing on the empathy factor that people need blood. When we tend to donate blood, some might be doing it for the reward. They're saying in this article to help build a child's empathy would not be to offer material rewards for pro-social behavior, but offer opportunities to do good. It will help children see themselves in their own behavior as generous, kind, and helpful. She concludes her article saying, empathy, sympathy, charity, and kindness begin at home and at an early age. In another article written by Rebecca Play Lincoln and Claire Lerner, they write how empathy is taught, and they do a step-by-step teaching guide on how you can teach your children at home how to develop empathy. They say that some steps they suggest is to establish a secure, strong, and loving relationship with your child. Making your child feel accepted and understood helps your child to learn, accept, and understand other people. Begin social referencing at 6 months old. Developing a theory of mind, this is when a toddler first realizes that as they have their own wants, needs, and goals, so do other people, and it helps them empathize with other people and children. You talk about your feelings with your child, you empathize with your child, and you can suggest how children can show empathy to other children. In the last study I did, which was based on experiments with mice, it shows how empathy can be inherited. Like humans, mice can automatically sense and respond to positive and negative emotions. In the mice study done by University of Wisconsin-Madison and Oregon Health and Science University, they typed mice that have high social strands and mice with low social strands. The mice with high social strands will be put into a group, and they'll observe a mouse that has, they will observe a mouse, have another mouse placed in a test chamber and trained to associate a 30-second tone with a mild foot shock. Upon experiencing the shock, the test mouse emitted a short distress call. The mouse that observed, the one that came from the high social mouse strand, learned from the distress call to associate the test chamber with something negative. They exhibited clear physiological signs of aversion when the sound, such as freezing in place, even though no shock was delivered. Then they took the mouse with the no to low social strand and did the same test. The mouse with the low to no social strands didn't react at all. They had no responses. The differences exhibited by the two strands show that there is a genetic component to the ability to perceive and act based on another's emotional state. The mouse with higher social genetic strands would show a greater deal of empathy than the mouse with no or low social strands. So in conclusion, my study showed that empathy is basically taught at home, but there are some genetic components that come into hand whether people can have empathy toward another person. Some other studies that I would like to show would be whether society affects empathy, such as drugs or peer pressure from other people, that can make a person's empathy factor lower. Also, outside factors such as war. Does war have an impact on empathy factor? When you're fighting for something, does your empathy towards another human being get lost? Also, I'd like to research other studies that could be used to test the theory of whether empathy is truly learned or inherited. This study is important to me because I work with people and I would continue to like working with people. This study would help me better understand why people act the way they do and why I myself act in certain situations. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate everyone listening to my talk.
That was good. That's the way to go.